So EOGs, we got them starting next Thursday. Got 7 days of class left. All y'all's missing work, got till Friday to get that in. It's only a couple more days there. It's today. We got, we're gonna work with angles today. All right, so when we work with angles, what number are we using for the most part? 180. Gonna use 180 a lot. Anything with a triangle, using 180. With the parallel lines, the transversals, we use 180 a lot, right? So a lot of 180 with any of the angles. All right, so let's start with this one here. We need to find the measure of angle ULE. So where is angle ULE? Inside the triangle. When it gives you 3 letters like that, you kind of connect the dot, okay? Or connect the letters. So it says ULE. So if we go from U to L to E, that means we're looking for this angle up here, okay? So that's inside the triangle. So to get an angle inside the triangle, we got to get the other angles inside the triangle. So eventually, that's the angle we need, right? Before we get that one, we want to get that one first, right? So what's that question mark one? That one's going to be 71. So we do 180 minus 109. We got 71 right there. All right, so now we got the 2 angles inside our triangle, and we start from 180 again, right? So, and we're subtracting. And then we're trying to get that angle up there. Zai, what's that give us? That's going to be our 60. Everybody kind of follow on that? Any questions on that? Now look, those 2 angles right there, the 60 and the 49, they add up, they equal that outside angle, but sometimes the process, just going through the steps that way, is going to be a little easier with some of the tougher problems. So doing all those steps that way is going to be a little easier to follow on tougher problems.
Don't you do 71 plus 49 and then subtract about 180? You can add them first and then subtract it from 180. So once you add that 71 in there, you could do 71 plus 49 and then 180 minus, what's that, 120? That would work. Or you could just start with 180 and you don't have to add them and just subtract them all at once. With a calculator, I think it's easier just to go ahead and subtract them. You don't have to add them first. Without a calculator, I would probably add them first and then subtract. To me, that's probably easiest without a calculator. Angles usually are on the calculator active though, so I would probably just say go ahead and subtract. Any other questions on that? All right, so let's look at a different one. Parallel lines. All right, when we have parallel lines, first thing we always have to decide is if they're different or the same. Are these different or the same? Same. So they're either the bigger angle or the smaller angle. And what they have is they follow a pattern. They alternate, okay? So you can always see if they alternate, okay? What that means is put the pattern on, right? So you can go like 1, 2. If you can't figure it out by looking at it, watch. We go 1, 2, 1, 2. You see how they're both ones? And then when you go to the bottom, you reverse it. So 2, 1, 2, 1. Everybody see how I did that? And that can easily show you whether they match or not, right? I mean, you don't have to use 1 and 2. You could go like A, B, right? But we follow that pattern. They're both ones. That means they're the same. So if I were doing this without a calculator, when they're the same, that means I set them equal to each other. But like I said, we're usually going to do this with a calculator. We're going to do this with Desmos. So when they're the same with Desmos, what you do is you put each one of those on a separate row. And we find where they cross, right? Where they cross, what letter are we looking for? The X, because we don't have any Y's up here, do we? What we got, Jacob? 16. Now, look, what did it ask us for? Value of X. Does it always ask for the value of X? No. Sometimes it asks you for the measure of the angle, okay? If it asks you for the measure of the angle, you have to get the value of X first, and then we would have to take it and plug it back in. So I'd have to do 8 times 16 plus 2. Everybody follow on that? So just kind of be careful what it's asking you for. Any questions on that one? Everybody see how we can easily tell if they're different or the same, right? All right, find out. Give it a try. Let's see what we get. Everything's on the inside of the triangle. We don't have any outside angles. So what all those angles add up to? 180. All right, so when you got all the angles on the inside, all the angles add up to 180. So what we do is we start with 180, and we're going to do the opposite. And we're going backwards with our order of operations, okay? So I'm going to go 180 minus, remember that's 90, right? So I'm going to go minus 90. And opposite of the minus 2. So I'm going to go, oops, didn't mean to write plus 9, plus 2. All right, everybody okay with that part? So what that gives me is 92. All right. So I get rid of the constants first by doing opposite. I had a positive 90, I had a minus 2, I did the opposite with them. I subtracted 90, added 2. Now I get rid of my coefficients. I have a 15x, I have an 8x. 15 and 8 make 23x. So I divide by my coefficients. And that's it. So when you have the angles inside of the triangle, you start with 180, and we're going and doing the opposite. Another way you could look at this, all the angles add up to 180. So you could add everything together. 15x plus 8x minus 2 plus 90 equals 180. And you could go ahead and solve that equation or put that equation into Desmos. And that's the equation we were solving by doing opposite, okay? So you can make that equation as well. 90 is from that little square. Remember that little square means 90 degrees. We need all three angles. Are those two different or the same? Those are different. All right, so when it's looking like this, we can still do that same thing. We can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1. I got a 1 and a 2, right? So that means they're different. If they are different, that means the two of them add up to 180. So when we're putting this into Desmos, when we're doing this on the calculator, we add the two of them together. So 3x minus 5 plus 2x minus 15. Then on the other line, I got to have y equals 180. All right, so we find where they cross. Corey, where they cross? What's my x value? All right, so x equals 40 where they cross. All right, now, this one's a little different. You see what the question's asking? It's asking for the measures of the two angles. So this is one where you have to plug it back in. It asks for the measure of the angle. That's what you got to do. So we got 3 times 40 minus 5. 150. Only one of the answer choices 15. So that would make it C. But look, just to show, 2 times 40 minus 15 would be the other one. That gives me 65. If two of the answer choices had 115, we'd have to, check the other one. Everybody kind of follow? So if it asks for the measure of the angle, once you get x, you got to plug it back in, okay? So if they're different, add them together. Y equals 180 for the other line. If they're the same, two separate lines, for one for each angle, find where they cross. Okay? Any questions on those?